And what could potentially be the final fight of Manny Pacquiao's legendary career? He has the chance and opportunity to go off with the bang. If Pacquiao could defeat reigning pound-for-pound king Terence Crawford, Pacquiao is undisputedly the GOAT of all of boxing. In today's installment of SteezyBandz, we're going to look into what's next for Manny Pacquiao, and is it Terence Crawford? But before we get into that, I'm going to sit back for a little bit and give you guys some time, for those of you new to this channel, to hit that subscribe button. That's right, man. If you're new to this channel, be sure to show brother some love, man. Hit that subscribe button for us. Join the family, join the squad, join the team. Be sure to leave us a like, drop a comment if you enjoyed, and to keep up with all things SteezyBandz, be sure to find us on all social media platforms at SteezyBandz, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Now, without further ado, you tune in to SteezyBandz, and let's get to cooking. At 62, 7-2 with 39 career knockouts, the only 8-division world champion in the history of boxing, a 12-time world champion, legendary boxer Manny Pacquiao already has a very compelling case to be the GOAT of all of boxing. And if you take away some of those controversial losses to Jeff Horn and Timothy Bradley the first time around, well, all boxing fans who watch those fights and all real boxing fans know that Pacquiao definitely won those 2 fights. And so with that taken into account, Pacquiao's record really should be 64, 5-2 with 39 career knockouts. Well, even if that's not the case, he still has a very, very real case of being the GOAT of all of boxing. But not a lot of people are really willing to board that train. But what if he's to fight current pound-for-pound king Terence Crawford, who at 33 years old is in the prime of his career, is 37-0 with 28 knockouts, and is ranked #1 by ESPN worldwide? Well, the problem is the fight is still currently in negotiations to happen, and it has been for a while. If the fight is going to take place, it will take place on June 5th in Abu Dhabi in the Middle East. And I think one of the things that's been holding back this fight is money on Pacquiao's end, as he's one of the most notorious and one of the best boxers of all time. He got to get his due, just like Floyd Mayweather. Well, we all hope that that does come to fruition, because if that's the case, then Pacquiao has an opportunity to really end his career off with a bang. Yes, he's 42 years old, and yes, it's been about 2 years since he last fought in the ring. But the last time we saw him in the ring, he looked just like the old Manny Pacquiao. While he's not the Pacquiao of old, while he's not at that peak that he once was, he's still a very great fighter. He still has the same speed, he still has the same explosion, he still has the same quickness, and he still has the same power in his punches. And while Keith Thurman was 3 years removed from boxing, he was still considered one of the best welterweights in all of boxing. He was a welterweight titleist, and prior to being undefeated, or prior to his loss against Pacquiao, he was undefeated. Well, as soon as Pacquiao hopped in the ring with Keith Thurman, well, he dropped him in the first round. And soon after the fight, which Pacquiao won pretty handily by decision, you heard a lot of crying, for lack of a better term, on Thurman's end. Much respect to him, he put up a fight, but Pacquiao proved to be so overwhelmingly dominant over Keith Thurman. And in looking at Terence Crawford's resume, I don't mean to take anything away from Terence Crawford. He's a great fighter. He definitely deserves to be one of the very best fighters in the world. He deserves to be in the pound-for-pound rankings, but who has he really fought? His last fight came against Kell Brooks last December, and while Kell Brooks was once a great fighter, Kell Brooks is well past his prime. He won by TKO, and much respect to Terence Crawford for pulling that off, but aside from him, who on his resume really stands out? Amir Khan? Victor Postol? Jeff Horn? You might look at the fact that Pacquiao lost to Jeff Horn, but like I said earlier, everyone that knows boxing and everyone that watched that fight knows that Pacquiao beat Jeff Horn, and so I'm not really gonna give that too much stock in terms of his victory over Jeff Horn. But I'm just real concerned about the lack of quality opposition. He's not that much of a pay-per-view draw, and that's why when it comes to pay-per-view, he hasn't really attracted or garnered that much attention against some of the top names in the sport. Errol Spence and Terence Crawford was once a thing, but I don't know why that still hasn't become a thing. And now that it doesn't look, and now that it looks like that ship has sailed, well, let's all hope for a Manny Pacquiao and Terence Crawford fight. While I don't necessarily agree with Terence Crawford being ranked #1 by ESPN in their pound-for-pound rankings, or Ring Magazine's #3 ranking of Terence Crawford in their pound-for-pound rankings, like I said, Terence Crawford still deserves to be in the top 10, but he doesn't deserve to be the #1 in the world based off the fact that his opposition, his resume doesn't include a top-name fighter. And now, what this potential fight against Manny Pacquiao could do for Terence Crawford's career is potentially elevate him to superstardom. While he already is a superstar, he isn't a superstar in terms of pay-per-view numbers, and he isn't a superstar in terms of how much he's able to attract a global and a national audience. Yes, all fighters have a tendency to kind of retreat after throwing a punch, and so I'm not going to hold that too much against Terence Crawford, but where Pacquiao might have a potential edge in a hypothetical fight against Terence Crawford is the fact that Terence Crawford has a tendency to start fights off very slow, and you combine that with the fact that he tends to retreat a little bit more than other fighters do in kicking off a fight. I think that could play into Manny Pacquiao's favor. Pacquiao's known to get off to quick starts. Pacquiao's known to start getting things going early. And just like ESPN boxing analyst Timothy Bradley said, Manny Pacquiao could very well be a dangerous opponent to Terence Crawford. While he might not have the same explosion and speed and power that he once had, that should be more than enough to go up against Terence Crawford, because even 95% of what Pacquiao once was is better than at least 97 to 98, if not 99% of the boxers in today's era. And being that he's 42 years old, yes, he's old, but I have no doubt in my mind in the fact that Manny Pacquiao knows how to get in boxing shape, and the fact that Manny Pacquiao knows who he's getting into the ring with. Terence Crawford is most definitely a threat, but to end off his career, I suggest that Manny Pacquiao by all means and his crew have to get this done. So all really comes down to top-ranked promoter Bob Arum and his ability to get these things hashed out, as I think that Pacquiao wants to get this done, and he wants to show the world that he's still got it and that he wants to end his career off on a great note. Terence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao will be one for the ages, and while I don't necessarily agree that Crawford should be the pound-for-pound king, I think that if Crawford, if he's able to win against Manny Pacquiao, that should silence all doubters, and that should definitely cement his status as the #1 undisputed pound-for-pound boxer in all the world. But let's not forget, Manny Pacquiao's still in here. He hasn't been in the ring for 2 years, but throw him back in the ring, and I promise you we'll see some of the flashes that we saw against Keith Thurman, if not more. With that being said, what do you guys think? Do you guys want to see this fight, Pacquiao versus Terence Crawford, or do you think this will be bad for Manny Pacquiao? Be sure to let me know in the comment section below. Who do you think Manny Pacquiao should fight next? And if it is Terence Crawford, who do you think will come out as the victor? Manny Pacquiao or Terence Crawford? And last but not least, if Manny Pacquiao is able to defeat Terence Crawford in a hypothetical fight, does Manny Pacquiao emerge as the undisputed GOAT of all of boxing? If he isn't, then who is the undisputed GOAT of all of boxing? Hope you guys enjoyed, and while that concludes this video, you don't have to stop watching Steezy Smith content here. Be sure to check out our channel homepage for a horde of other collabs and other podcast guest appearances. Stay tuned for more Seahawks and other NBA content. We'll be posting a lot more in the coming weeks. Nothing but love, and Steezy out.